miHoYo has been doing recently that have made me thinking about this. First is that there's this big crystal gem top-up reset. So in gacha games, if you're gonna swipe, this is a big thing because you really want those top-up bonuses if you are gonna go beyond the blessing of the Vulcan Moon. And then also, we had oh yeah, they even sent a mail out about the top-up reset. And then also more recently, Paimon has been asking for, survey responses, and in the survey responses, they're asking what are the biggest problems. And I had already kind of set up the text there about what I want to talk about here. And let's just talk about this because I think this screen is my biggest problem with Genshin Impact by far, because this screen and what these numbers are saying and how this interacts with the rest of the game is why I could never recommend this game to any children, which means I basically can't recommend this game to any of my friends or family members that have children, right? Like, the thing is, I have friends that have kids that, those kids love Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, oh, a multiplayer version of Breath of the Wild, that could be awesome. But the way it actually plays out is that the way this economy scales and the baseline costs of this game's economy are just ridiculous. So there are, like in the survey, there are other things we could talk about. There's lots of little, quality of life things that, even a free-to-play player might talk about. And really, like, I would say, if we put costs aside, my biggest, area of improvement I could see for this game would be in co-op. Because in co-op, you cannot activate statues of the 7. You cannot turn in, like, every other quest objective, which makes questing and exploring in co-op unsatisfying and basically unplayable. I think the only dungeons that have co-op enabled are the domains, basically. So that's not great. I would really appreciate skipping dialogue and story mode in the scenarios where you ever have to replay content. I recently went through, and I like this game personally, and I just recently leveled up an entire alternate account. Going through all the story does get super frustrating after a while, since there's so much unskippable dialogue, and even the dialogue that you seem to be able to skip, a lot of the times it just bugs out, stuff like that. It'd really be nice if you could just skip through a whole bunch of stuff. And there are complaints I could make about, like, quest design, like in the Sacred Sakura quest tree. There's one part where, like, this one quest objective character is, like, standing on top of a building behind a tree, and it's just like, why, miHoYo, why? And it still kind of bugs me that most of the, not like the main cast, but, like, a lot of the side actors, like, all say Liyue in different ways, and I just feel like there could be more QA and level design, and all of these other little things. But really, if we're going to talk about the problem with Genshin Impact, it is this. It is this problem. Right? Like, because if you want to think about, okay, should kids play this game? The answer is obviously no, right? Because think about kid logic, right? A kid sees a trailer for a new character, and they're like, oh, I want that character, and maybe they don't just want that character. Maybe they also want that character and that character's signature weapon, right? Like, that's very much kid logic. Maybe they don't care about getting to R6, but, like, how much would it cost for a parent to be able to get their kid the new character that just came out and their signature weapon, or even just the character a lot of the time, right? And the costs for that, if we look at the baseline cost of the economy and even the, adjusted cost of this economy, because, of course, being a gacha game, they have 4 different systems of redemption and all these promotions and all these events and all this other stuff. But the way I would start by looking at it is, okay, don't start by looking at the $100 with the top-up bonus reward. What you should start by looking at is the $1 cost, right? What is their actual, how does miHoYo actually imagine the economy of this game scaling, right? And $1 for 60 Genesis crystals is an insult to the player base. And I say that even as someone who has, I've bought the Blessing of the Welcome Moon, I've bought the Battle Pass, I'm willing to spend money on this game. But I still have all these top-up bonuses because this screen infuriates me, and I really feel like at this point, I love the game, but I feel like I should not have ever spent any money on it because it seems very exploitative, right? If it is $1 for 60 Primo Gems, if that's like their baseline sense of the economy for this game, then to get that one 5-star character and their signature 5-star weapon, that could be up to 420 rolls, right? It could take 180 rolls to get the character, and then it would cost 240 rolls using the current system for the weapon banner, I believe, to get the signature weapon, right? So for 420 rolls, at 160 Primo Gems per roll, you would need 67,200 Primo Gems to be able to be guaranteed to get the character and the weapon that you want. Now, again, there's like a million things you could say here. Oh, I would only ever top up at the $100 price point, and I would get the Blessing of the Welcome Moon. And, who cares about the weapon, etc., etc., etc. But this is like, we're talking about kid logic and like a parent responding to that kid logic right now, okay? To do that, the baseline economy of this game suggests that could cost $1,120. That is insane, right? This is at that, baseline economy of 60 Genesis crystals to $1. Again, no one is ever going to, just be topping up the $1 for 60 Genesis crystals ratio. But that's the baseline of how miHoYo imagines this economy is scaling. So even though no one is actually going to be doing that, everything is going to be kind of just like degradations of that rather than rejections of that, right? Like it's still going to be in that ballpark. So, what can you do as a free-to-play player, right? Okay, I just went through on an alternate account on the Asia server, and basically I think if you are quickly clearing through the content in the game, you're going to get about 3,000 Primo Gems per chapter. So up through Inazuma, you are likely to end up with 10,000 Primo Gems thereabouts, since you get, Primo Gems for just the passage of time as well, right? And that's basically what my free alternate account has after getting all the way through Inazuma. This means that after you clear all the content in the game, you are still, 50,000 Primo Gems short of being able to get a 5-star character and their 5-star weapon. Again, even if you, go back and say, okay, well, let's give up on getting the kid their signature weapon, say, okay, this weapon banner is basically a scam, right? Even if you go that far, you still need 180 rolls to be able to guarantee the character through Double Pity, which is still 28,800 Primo Gems, which is 3 times the amount of Primo Gems you get for clearing all the content in the game, right? Trying to figure out how many Primo Gems people get per month is like kind of tricky because, okay, well, are they on the Blessing? Are they able to clear all of Abyss Spiral every month? Like, that's a big question, but that's actually a big chunk of the Primo Gems you can actually get every single month. But let's just kind of like roughly say you maybe will end up getting like 3,000 Primo Gems a month through just doing average daily stuff and getting through at least some part of the Abyss Spiral, and then maybe events come in and you get some Primo Gems from that stuff too. At that rate, it's gonna be, 5-6 months as a free-to-play player, probably more than that actually, to be able to actually hit this point where you could Double Pity and get the desired 5-star character you want. You need to save up basically 30,000 Primo Gems if you don't have any work done on your pity, and if you want a specific character. Which means that since the Blessing of the Welkin Moon can't get you there in the duration of any specific character wish banner, parents would need to swipe, right? And if parents are going to swipe, they're going to be swiping for these insultingly outrageous prices, right? Like, again, I don't have a problem with spending money on a video game, but if you're going to spend money on a video game, especially if you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on a video game, I feel like you should be able to get the thing you want, right? I know gacha is all about, oh yeah, you know, you can get lucky or you can spend a lot of money. But even by gacha standards, I feel like this game is unreasonable, right? And, you know, I know that people do have different feelings about this, right? Like, okay, well, most players don't have kid logic, right? You know, this is not a make or break issue for a lot of the people who are approaching this game as a free-to-play player, right? There was recently a video by Never Knows Best who talked about how, you know, he was going to do a serious critique of Genshin Impact, and he basically went in saying, okay, you know, I feel like I'm going to hate this game because it's a gacha, but actually I kind of fell in love with it, and I really think this game has a lot to offer. And he talked specifically about the way Primo Gems made him feel as a player, in the sense that, okay, since the economy was so limited, it made him feel like he could value every character he did end up getting, right? And I can appreciate that. I think that for mature adult players, you can kind of try to approach this game and not feel insulted by it. But this is not how children would approach the game, right? That is a very mature perspective, and that I am completely confident children would never have that level of maturity in how they approach this game. That also means that they would be creating a lot of pressure for their parents, I think, you know, because parents like to give their kids gifts. If a kid really is into a game and they can get them something in that game, I don't think parents are, generally speaking, unwilling to shell out a little bit of money. But if they are willing to do so, they are going to get destroyed by this game. The YouTuber Sikio recently released a video where she swiped for 21,608 Crystal Genesis, which I think for her probably was like $300. That would be $200 about with the first-time top-up bonus, but I kind of don't think this was her first top-up. Where she was trying to get Yoimiya and her signature weapon. And I think I'm not sure if she actually ended up needing to swipe on top of that 21,000 Crystal Genesis. I feel like she might have, because she had to go through multiple pities on the weapon banner. But even with that 21,000 Crystal Genesis and all these swipes, she still never got Sayu, right? Because 4-star characters aren't even on the pity timer, right? So you can just get extremely unlucky with the characters that you get. So I just feel like the cost for Primo Gems and the way the pity timer works is just outrageous in this game. And, like, my solution would be, like, I'm not, like, saying, oh, yeah, no one should ever spend money on video games. But I feel like for, like, $40, you should be getting not, you know, like, 1,980 with a top-up bonus of 1,980 Crystal Genesis. I feel like for the rates they're charging this game, for $40, you should get 30,000 Primo Gems, right? And I don't feel like that should be the first-time top-up bonus. I feel like you should just be able to spend $40 and you should be able to get 30,000 Primo Gems, right? Enough to actually get something in this game, right? I feel like $40 should get you something in a video game if you're willing to spend it. And I know that MiHoYo, you know, they would have their whole thing about how their revenue stream is going to work. And I would completely expect them to fully ignore all my points in this video. But I feel like as consumers and as players, we need to be aware that the economy of top-ups in this game, as a gacha game, is off by like a factor of 10. These prices are not acceptable, and I do think that this is the #1 problem, and I sadly, I don't think this is a problem that's going to go away anytime soon, because I don't really think MiHoYo is going to change their cost structure. But this is the reason why I would never recommend this game for children, for anyone that has children, or anyone that doesn't have like a very strong sense of financial self-control. I know there's like this whole thing about, really crazy streamers who spend hundreds of dollars to see 6 characters, and, they're like basically turning outrageous acts of consumption into performance art, which is, more power to them. But I don't feel like that should warp the way players overall feel about the costs in this game, which is that they are basically insulting. So that's my, feedback from MiHoYo, and that's kind of where I am in terms of how I feel about the biggest problem in Genshin Impact, a game that I do actually really quite enjoy. Okay. I hope you enjoyed, like, follow, all that crap. It actually would really be nice to get more subscribers on YouTube. But, yeah, take it easy, and I'll see you guys later, hopefully with the release of 2.1, and there